What's going on, everybody? I wanted to do part two, leaving off where I left yesterday, which is the facet of a budget for single and or married with a family and everything in between. And I wanted to use this video to do deep dive, more tactical approach to budgeting, including a worksheet that I'm going to share with you that I use. And just to recap a little bit, I'm going to share my screen, go back to, stop hiding this. All right, and this is what we looked at in the last video where we were thinking in take-home pay and income and cash flow, which is I have, and this is what I'm going to subtract. We're going to go a little step higher than that today, and I'm going to make this worksheet available for anybody, probably by email. That's probably the best way I can do it, where I'll batch a bunch of emails together, blind carbon copy. That way you have the actual worksheet that you can use and you can tailor it and edit it and do everything you need to. But let's get away from this, which is getting us broke. And for the married budget, same thing. And let's start thinking in terms of revenue and expenses and what's left over is profit. Going to let me know. This should be shared right now. This is a budget worksheet that I use with myself and with my clients. And what I do, at least on that end, give me a second, make sure I unmuted this. I did. Okay. What I do, and I actually put this on my calendar once per month, like it's an appointment, like it's something that cannot be moved, something that I cannot be disturbed by. I've been doing this for years. Families knocking on my door, do not disturb me during this time. It's no different than I would set aside that time sitting down with a client at the beginning of the month, end of the month, depending on when we are, to wrap up the previous month's expenses and then set goals for the next month's expenses. And I'm going to go step by step to show you how I do this and how seriously I take this, because I am not disturbed for a couple of hours as I'm actually going through this for wrapping up the previous month and then planning for the next month. So we're going to start with housing. I'm highlighting all of this. This can be changed, removed. Other is for blank stuff, anything in there. And what I do is, let's say it's a mobile phone bill, at the beginning of the month, I budget 100 because that may be what the bill is. And as long as I don't do anything stupid with those poker apps that people play with, where they say just charge your phone bill and you get play money for $10 or whatever it is. It should be $100 at the end of it without much fanfare. Family, you're going to be taking care of all of this stuff on the family side. And as you can see, whatever your food bill is, when you put it in, that subtotal at the bottom, it actually automatically calculates it because it's part of a formula. So everything in this like salmon color for each of these sections will add up at the end of it for your living expenses. And that's why we're doing housing, family, charitable donations, transportation, and here's the one that's going to get you in trouble, leisure. The left side of this page between housing, family, charitable giving, transportation, roughly should be static. You can usually plan for it. Maybe sometimes you put 500 down for your food budget and you end up spending 625. That happens too. But the goal of this is be careful here. Here's where you can have the most impact with getting more money at the end of the month rather than more month at the end of your money. And restaurants is a good example. You budget $100 for the month, you end up spending 65. This is where the budget and the actual come in. This is why I sit down for a couple hours once a month, actually charting my course and actually wrapping up what I just did. Because if it happens where it looks like this, where I budgeted 100, but I actually spent 375, now I know I'm going to highlight that line item and say I really need to look into this and figure out why. It may look like we're tracking numbers. We're actually tracking behavior. What is the reason that you go over budget on a restaurant? It's because you didn't feel like cooking on those couple nights a week. Chipotle was right around the corner and you wanted to stop by, whatever the case may be. Track the numbers so you can fix the behavior. That's the point of this. Delete that, unhighlight that. Now you're getting into your other expenses that are relatively static because they just kind of hit you at least for your debt. That's the biggest impact you can have of knocking it down so you can get yourself a pay raise when you do that. Insurance, everybody's insured out the ass for everything. So there's a section for that. Savings as well. And then again, you're looking at revenue. So when you're looking at revenue, even though your take home pay doesn't show taxes in the net number, you want to track your revenue from what you earn and then subtract the taxes for that, whatever that may be. Income taxes versus property taxes, you name it. Those are the two usual big ones. And then thinking about, your needs, your wants, and your savings. You got the savings here, should be 20% of the total if this is what you're aiming for. You have your wants, which are all here, that should be 30%. And then everything else between taxes, which you need to pay, insurance, which you should have if you don't, that's part of the 50%. Housing, that takes care of the home. Family, need to take care of your family. Giving, you don't need to give, but it's not a bad idea. I would recommend it. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Just saying that should be possibly some of the things that come up during the month, children's birthdays, things like that. Nieces, nephews, neighbors, coworkers, we're throwing a birthday party for Steve, VP of accounting. Can you contribute $20? It's only $20, but document it in there as something that either potentially could be an expense or when you're looking back on the month that you actually incurred as an expense. Track every dollar that you can. Mind the fucking shop. Mind the fucking business. Transportation's another one. You're going to have months where there's low gas costs and high gas costs, and then sometimes you need an oil change. Spread that out, and if you need an oil change, you're going to need it coming up in April. You budget for it, and you make it part of your expenses based on the projected revenue that comes in. So here's where you put your monthly revenue, and I'll just use the single example from before. Maybe you don't have a side hustle, so your revenue, and that was take home pay. We'll do 5,000. 5,000 there. And let's say you pay, I don't know, 600 a month in income taxes. So that's part of your expenses when the revenue that you bring in. Now, every time you put in a dollar figure for this, it's going to take it away, and then you'll have a surplus or a shortfall at the bottom, which is also lined up to a formula to add up to this. Now, if I budget for 125 in gas and I end up going on a road trip to Buc-ee's and it costs me more gas to do it, then I have to put the actual in. That's what the budget and the actual are for. And now I know I can highlight that and say, why did I go over budget? What were the reasons for? What was the behavior that led to the gap in the numbers? That's the difference between the two. And then at the end, you'll have a budget surplus shortfall for your budget. You'll have a surplus shortfall for the actual. And then you can use that historical data to build up for the next month as you're doing your budget accordingly. Don't add any numbers or subtract any numbers from here because there's the formulas on these places that are highlighted. Just add it into the blank spots. The highlighted parts will calculate it themselves and take care of it for you. Same thing up here. Get rid of that. We're back to 0. And here's what we're thinking about goals. The 50, 30, 20, to try to get to, if that 50 needs to be 60 or 65, see if you can do some slicing there. You're going to line item everything and then track it and figure out, maybe you can find money that was missing beforehand. Here's a goal on revenue. If you ever want to get to the 6-figure mark for 100,000 a year revenue, that's on a monthly basis, 83.34. So if it's $1 or $2 below that, you're not at the $100,000 level. If it's at 83.34 a month, times that by 12, you'll get roughly about $100,000 per year. You will be in the six-figure realm because everything's getting more expensive. Earning six figures, maybe not sounding as impressive as it used to be, but it's a good goal at least to start. And then again, mind the fucking shop, mind the fucking business at that point. I'm going to put my email for this channel in the description. And I'm going to be out of town Sunday night. I'm heading out of town for a little while to spend some time with family, probably about 9 or 10 days. So if you can get me your email requesting this budget worksheet before Sunday night, what I'll do is I'll batch them up into a blind carbon copy and then send out the spreadsheet so you have it and you can start working on it by the end of the weekend. And this is the blank template. Obviously, I have tabs for January, and then literally you can copy, paste, add a tab for March, and then keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So it'll be there for you to use in perpetuity, not just this year, but next year as going forward. And when this thing does hit on our portfolio on the XRP side, now you have some revenue to put into these buckets. Hopefully, we can set this up to where it's recurring revenue. I'll do videos on that, on what assets that might not be a bad idea to think about putting a good chunk of money into, and some of it that can pay passively too. So that putting that run that you went on and you took a portion of your coins, you cashed out on, and then you want to put it into something that actually pays you on a monthly basis, we can set that up too. Use this, play around with it, and screw up. You're going to learn more by screwing some of this up as well, and just track it on a monthly basis. Set the time out to do it, and put it on your calendar, and then track it. I track it week by week, but that's just me. You may just want to set the number out for your restaurant, spend $500 on the restaurant, and then at the end of the month, wondering why you spent $2,335 on going out to eat, whatever the case may be. I don't know what your lifestyle is for going out to eat at restaurants, but use it to your advantage. Use it as a tool. Get yourself to that next level. Looking forward to seeing everybody succeed. Giant hugs.